We've got some fresh new young talent doing some things that I know you haven't heard before.
1, 2, 3, listen.
Welcome to Finances, your home for all things financial, investment, money and lifestyle. Hosted and curated by the very talented team of certified financial planners, Burke Britton Financial Partners. So this is the Finances podcast, the second recording for the day. We've got a returning guest and a returning holiday maker, PB. Welcome back from the Northern Hemisphere.
Thank you, JB.
Now, for those, I'm sure all of your clients, I think your clients got a bit of a summary while you're away of all those that follow you on sort of social media. I think Amy might have also put out some photos of your travels. I thought we might just touch on, first of all, where you've been, what you enjoyed, and maybe some tips for anyone else who's looking to do some trips and travels, because we have lots of clients that are always enthused about getting overseas and doing some sightseeing. And then probably secondary to that, the fact that you as a business principal have been able to pick up and disappear for 9 weeks and have 9.5 weeks and still have the business continue to function in your absence, and you still being able to be connected whilst having time away with your wife. It's a pretty cool reflection of where the business is at.
Yeah, and I think that makes me even more proud of this fantastic group of people, a business that we've built now over 22 years, that it does function in spite of, yourself or myself being sitting in the office space. It functions really, really well, and our clients are very well cared for by the whole team. So it's nice in a sense. I think the fantastic book that we've read, The Good to Great book by Jim Collins, was one of the key components of that. Was if you're going to be a genuinely good leader with a genuinely good business, you need to make yourself redundant. You need to make it to the point where, you don't need to be there all the time because everyone else is leading the place from in front. The Nelson Mandela principle, lead from behind, and the team do the leading, let them do the owning. Well,
in Jocko terms, it's decentralized command. It's getting to the point where everything's not centralized to one person, because the risk is for clients that their relationship is just with one individual, and when that one individual is not there or has some time off, or they're on holidays, that nothing happens. That's no action is taken, and they're not getting advice. They can't get the support they need, and that is the complete opposite of what happened when you're away for 9.5 weeks. The place continued to roll very nicely, and we're all very excited to see you go and spend some time away, but also everything was in hand while you're away.
Yeah, and I guess that's also in the past, you have a holiday of consequence and you spend 1 million hours packing in the week or two before you go to try and make sure you're not left anything undone, and then you're constantly touching base to make sure everything's going okay. And it's lovely to have the comfort of knowing that things are under control and you can go away without any stress. And the technology is pretty good. You can be available very easily if you need to be. But
I saw you still poking around in work emails like you weren't supposed to. But
just having a look, just touching base. Maybe I'm addicted.
Yeah, maybe. Let's talk a little bit about where you went. I know those clients that you haven't spoke to yet, we'll ask you when you're in appointments with them. But where did you go and what were the highlights?
I'll just give you a quick summary. The initial part of the holiday was basically a legacy from Esther's mum and dad, who she lost her mum May last year. So both parents are gone, and she wanted to have her children get some genuine experience as a family of where mum and dad were born in Cordoba, which is southern Spain. And so the deal was a little bit of the inheritance was given to the kids on the condition that it was towards getting them over to Spain. And ultimately out of that was a fortnight where Esther and her kids and myself, the kids and their partners, had time in Cordoba. Or we went into Madrid first. We had 3 nights there just to check out Madrid, because it's a pretty cool city. We then went down to Cordoba and had a week there with Spanish family. We went and saw where her mum and dad, Balbi and Juan, were married, and it was just a really nice thing to be there. And as a new addition to that family, and as someone who'd never been to Spain, I'm looking forward to it because it's a new country to go to, but it was pretty special. I was really blessed, and the Spanish family treated Esther and I like royalty. It was pretty special.
Have the Spanish still got a royal family?
They have, but they're not necessarily terribly functional, and I think it's interesting because I think they're existing. I think they call him a prince, not a king.
Okay.
He just lives in a really modest place in the sort of country Spain. It's not anything like the monarchy in the English situation at all. So.
A couple of decent empires in their day, the Spanish and the. I know you've done a fair bit of reading about the sort of South American infiltration by the Spanish.
My word. Well, in the 1600s, the Spaniards were the most powerful country in the world, like across the whole of the world. And they had, their colonisation of really influential parts of the world, or their invasion, really influential parts. And one of my favourite songs is Neil Young's Cortez the Killer, which is a pretty cool song about the Spaniards coming onto the horizon and basically bringing their guns, germs and steel to invade.
Jared Diamond, is that the...
That's the book, Guns, Germs and Steel. Yeah, great read as well. So we had that week, which was lovely, in Cordoba itself, and then the family have a little village called Villaviciosa, which is about an hour out.
I like your accent too. Well done. You've been practicing.
With their casas, their homes in Villaviciosa. It's about an hour out into the mountains, so it was nice because it was 4 or 5 degrees cooler than Cordoba, which got very hot.
Is it Cordova or Cordoba?
Cordoba. It's a B. Cordoba.
Yep. Did you say it's on the coast or not?
No, Cordoba. Cordoba is central southern Spain.
Yep.
It's just tons and tons of olive groves and stuff like that. Sort of dry, mountainous, hilly country with lots of olive groves.
Is there anything when you were thinking about what to expect going to Spain? Obviously, Esther's given you a bit of a heads up of what. Was there anything that was surprising? Anything that you thought, oh, well, really stood out?
I was aware that there were things there that would be interesting and talking about, and I'd read a fair bit, so I had a bit of an understanding of the Spanish Civil War and also the Romans and the Muslims and the Christians, over many centuries taking over. But getting there and seeing, on the first day we arrived in Cordoba, got the taxi from the station. It was the fast train from Madrid down to Cordoba, 2.5 hour trip. 300 clicks an hour, which is pretty cool. And we got out of the taxi and looked on the river. We were staying at a motel centre on the river, and look across the river, and there's this amazingly beautiful old Roman bridge. And then they tell me that was one of the bridges in the Game of Thrones series, which was, for me, a Game of Thrones tragic. Was pretty cool. And
know what's bizarre is that you've watched the whole series and I've not watched one episode.
Do yourself a favour. It's absolutely fantastic.
I'm just worried about the time commitment to get through it all.
Yeah. But then you walk across that bridge and you get to what was the old Muslim, I think, built through 900 AD. So before that, 700, and then taken over by the Christians in the late 1400s AD. So it was about 800 years the Muslims had and built this wonderfully beautiful mosque and town around it. And the Christians came in and said, this is too beautiful to destroy. So they just basically came in and integrated and put their own stuff in it. And I think that's a wonderful analogy about how surely we can live that way now. Respect what's been, acknowledge what's been, but don't destroy it because you reckon your stuff's better. John Lennon wrote a great song, Imagine. But that was a pretty good example of that. We then slipped down to Cardiz, Cardiz, which is on the coast, and just the most beautiful, pretty little coastal town, which was lovely. From there we went...
And the weather ramped up by this stage, was it?
It wasn't anywhere near as hot as it has been in July. This was the last 2 weeks of May, so it was actually quite pleasant, warm but pleasant, and warm enough to have a swim in Cardiz and feel great about being in the ocean.
Any waves?
No, it's pretty flat water there. Yeah. There's not a lot. Only time a wave happens is when a boat goes past a bit further out on the water. And then we went from there up to Barcelona, had 3 nights in Barcelona to check it out. Then everyone just took off, and Esther's kids and their partners just went off in their various directions to do their own thing. And from there we caught a plane to Nice in France, and we spent 5, 6, maybe 6 or 7 nights perhaps in Nice. And from there we did things like went down to Monaco and checked out the Monaco Grand Prix track, did a loop of the Grand Prix track, which is fantastic, looked at where they do the Cannes Film Festival in that area, and some of the most beautiful one village, I can't think of the name of it, but it was on a couple of the day trips we did. It was just this art enclave up on a mountain. You had to walk the last 400 or 500 metres up steps to get to it. It was just beautiful old buildings with these tiny little doors, and you go in, it was an art gallery inside. It was jewellery and art and all sorts of things. It was pretty cool.
How'd your body hold up? Your ankle's been a bit of a worry.
Yeah, well,
I was worried about you.
Yeah, I know. Well, I got a message from you, how's it going? And I think I responded at one stage by saying, typically, Peter Burke was a bullfed and thought he was invincible. And one day, might have been the 3rd week, I think, I didn't wear my specialist prescribed hiking boots with the orthotic insoles and so on, and I suffered dramatically because I didn't wear them that day, which was a great learning. From that point on, as soon as I got up in the morning, if we're going anywhere, I put the boots on and I managed really well. I think we averaged 18,000 steps a day through the 6, 7, 8 weeks that we were doing lots of that sort of stuff.
Were you eating out? Did you have an apartment where you were cooking for yourselves? What did you do?
No, probably didn't. We had some of the places we stayed at, we bought food in. We just did a grocery shop and had something for brekkie, for example. Had our coffee supplies and those sorts of things, but you very quickly fitted into the tradition that in the evenings, you go and hide. They genuinely have a siesta in Spain. You go and hide for the heat of the day.
That would suit you well, wouldn't it?
It was great.
Have a little snooze?
Well, I loved it because I had myself set up to watch the Cats games on my iPad so I could have a siesta, and even if it was an earlier game.
What time was the game on?
Well, we were 8 hours behind in Spain, 8 hours behind here.
So lunchtime.
Yeah, so we could, if there's a 7 o'clock game, it would be at 11 o'clock in the morning, or a 2 o'clock game, it would be 7 or 8 in the morning. But if we were out and about, I just wouldn't look at the scores until I got back, and then I'd play a live delayed telecast and watch the game live.
How did you get the footy while you were over there? Did you have a private VPN or something like that?
Yeah, I set up, I think it's through Foxtel. It's an international version because Foxtel or Foxgo, Fox Now, whatever it's called, it's only available in Australia and New Zealand. So I had to pay $30, $39 a month or something while we're away. Yeah. But it was a great investment because I could actually watch it, which was pretty good.
Cats actually played some good games while you're away, and then they've hit some poor form just now.
I shouldn't have come back.
It's all your fault.
Just other good places. We went to Cinque Terre, which is 5 towns. Cinque Terre.
Cinque means 5?
Yeah.
Terra means town?
That's in Italy now, yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and in the mountains and these little towns, which a lot of people, the trekkers love it because you can walk between them.
You'd thought about doing that, had you
I
not?
had thought about doing it, but it was, again, because of the ankle. And
are you able to ride it? Is it possible to ride that?
You can ride it. But it's only, people do the whole Cinque Terre, that they're very close to each other in a full day. Like it's a long day of walking, but you can do it. But what we did was we got the train and we stayed in this beautiful place called Monterosso. And from there, you catch a train and the train stops at each of those little towns. So we actually caught the train. We'd spend an hour or so just sussing out the town longer if we wanted to stop for a meal or lunch or something. And we went to all of the towns and had a really good look through each of them and then trained back to Monterosso and went out for dinner that night. So
Spain, France, Italy. Which had the best food?
Spanish by a mile.
Okay.
Yeah. So, especially the stuff that, if you know where to go, like if you're eating...
Are you eating paella? Is that what...
Well, paella. Yeah,
paella, sorry.
No, yes, it's paella is how it's spelt. But if we had, on 2 occasions, we went and had... And the family, when we were in Bilbao, they took us to this place out near Poo, the little holiday coastal resort we stayed at. Took us to this place that was just sort of near a massive caravan park. And it turned out to be the most extraordinary restaurant with the best service and the best food. And we had a huge seafood paella that day. It was just the best food you could possibly imagine. It was great.
It says a bit about when you're travelling somewhere, if you've got some family or some local insight to be able to get sort of under the touristy spots. I know I found that when we're in France or in Italy, and you tend to, if you don't know anyone, you end up just going to the touristy places, which are kind of neither here nor there, expensive and not great.
Yep.
But if you've got some local insight, it's great, isn't it?
Helps a lot, yeah. Well, we also tried to do that with our accommodation. We tried to not stay in the sort of really well-known central spots. We tried to stay a bit away from the centre of places where most of the touristy stuff was, which then forced you to walk to places and you got a bit more of a feel for the area you're in. But it also meant that you were able to go to restaurants that were just the local restaurants. We did that in France. We did that in Italy. We just went to places that were nearby where we stayed and had some really good experiences. So
somewhere along the line, Esther said, "Listen, Pete, I really love to go and see the second test and see Smudge make a ton." And she encouraged you to go over, and you said, "Well, okay,
if I have to."
If I have to.
Yeah, it was. I did have a little bit of creative engagement with our itinerary, but it just turned out to be conveniently finishing our 5 nights in Paris as the second test at Lourdes started. So we caught the train across the afternoon of the first day, stayed a lovely...
From France or?
From France. From Paris to
Yep.
London. Yeah, caught the train under the Channel and had a lovely accommodation, only 3 tube stops from Lord's, which was really nice. And had a really nice dinner at this place, this pub, at a rooftop bar, which was great. Caught the tube to it was at St John's Park, I think, or St John's Park, I think, is the area that Lord's is situated in, and went to Lord's for the day, which was extraordinary, and smudge, yes, Steve Smith got his 100, which made it even better, and it was nice to be part of the test that had so much controversy.
Well, there's been a few of them had some controversy.
They sure
the
have.
last one, the last day, the last one's been a joke.
From the change of the ball on the second last day, it was incredible. There's been a series of controversy, but it's also been a series of incredibly tight contests, and each team at various times has been well on top and then fallen over. And I guess that's an interesting competition, isn't it? When it's a 2-all and a draw. But it was lovely. I went to Lord's, and Esther was coming. I bought 2 tickets, and she decided the day before that, do you really mind if I don't come, honey? Because I don't know that I can sit there for all those hours, especially when it was running till 7 o'clock each night.
Yeah.
So it happened that Will and his girlfriend Lexi were
Will's
on there. Yeah, Will's Esther's baby, 6'7" baby. They were in London, just on their part of their itinerary, and we were thinking we might catch up for dinner after the day at Lord's, which we ended up doing. And she said, would it matter if I gave the ticket to Will? Because I know he'd actually enjoy it. He'd love it. So it worked out really well, because William felt guilty because he got given a ticket and his brother made him feel guilty, so he bought me beers all day at the cricket.
Good. Yeah. You would have been on your ear.
Well, I think just after the tea break, I said, mate, no more beers. Get me sparkling water. We're going out for dinner.
So let's go to the end of the trip. So you ended up, where did you finish at? You went back to Spain. So after you went sort of Spain, France, Italy, back to Spain.
We caught the train from our accommodation out to Gatwick Airport. Yeah, okay. Gatwick, which is it's going back in the past. It's old.
It was like Avalon, is it?
Oh, well, it was worse than Avalon.
Okay.
It was terrible. It was nothing like Heathrow. It's and just really clunky, but it was okay. It didn't matter. We caught the plane there. It was about, I think, a 2-hour delay by the time we got off the ground, and getting through all of the security checks was just a nightmare. They're still 10 years behind with a lot of the stuff they do. But having said that, it got us to Bilbao, which is northern Spain. And we landed in Bilbao late afternoon, went to our accommodation, and Esther's family there said, we'll come and pick you up about 10:30 tomorrow morning. They'll meet us at the hotel and just take us and show us the town. Well, they took us to show us the town, and we walked down. All of a sudden, there's all these people, all this stuff going on, massive crowds. What's going on?
And put on a celebration for you.
Yeah, exactly right. They knew we were coming. Esther's very high profile. And Esther's cousin's son said, guess what? This is the start to the Tour de France.
Oh, wow.
And we were there for the start of the Tour de France in Spain. Like, they started the Tour de France in Bilbao.
That's right.
Off into the Alps and off into the mountains. And what I want, being a bit of a sport buffhead, I just loved the opportunity to be there and seeing the teams. And we wandered then right down this huge kilometre down the crowd and got on a big curve around a monument, and they took off from back where we first looked at it. By the time they got to us, they were really cracking. They were going in this huge peloton, I don't know, 100 riders or whatever the number is, just whooshed past us and then up the road and out of the town. It was really exciting.
On a few of our clients' bucket lists to do the Tour de France, either to go and watch it in the various stages, or I think you can even ride.
You can ride bits of it.
You can ride behind them or before them.
Yeah, I think you can do. Yeah, it's set up so that I think off the top of my head, I can't think who it was, but actually, I think it might be my cousin Michael, Judy and John's son. I reckon Michael's done a little bit of the Tour de France. He's been over there and watched a lot of it. I think he did a bit of it with a couple of his cycling mates. So it'd be a great opportunity. But just seeing it was great. It was one of those unexpected bonuses that just popped up, and it was pretty cool.
Serendipitous. Yeah.
Word.
Was there any other events or monuments or anything else that you thought you'd recommend someone go and check out if they're heading to Europe?
Yeah, well, I think there's the obvious stuff. We did Rome and we did the Colosseum and we did the Vatican and those sorts of things, but none of that really turned either of us on. It was just we did it because we're there, we've done it. It didn't really tick any boxes other than to say, oh, yeah, we've done it. And, I won't get into philosophical objections to stuff, but the Eiffel Tower is pretty cool. Like, you can't stand under the Eiffel Tower without being in awe. Wandering through the Louvre again was just lovely to wander through the Louvre and just look at and it's art about art. It's not art about any particular thing like the art in the Vatican is, which is a particular focus. But I reckon the couple of things that struck me most were like I mentioned, the La Mezquita in Cordoba, the mosque cathedral. There were a number of those because Spain was Roman up until about 700 AD, and then the Muslims came in for about 800 years, and then the Christians kicked them out. And I think there were several places where that combination of architecture, Roman, Muslim, and Christian architecture and history was really significant. And we saw that in Malaga on the coast, in that beautiful spot there, in Granada, which there's the Alhambra, which is this whole city up on a mountain, and it's just extraordinary. We did a 3.5, 4 hour guided tour around it with a lady who was incredibly informative, and it was just spectacular. I mean, that historical awareness, I love it. I love learning and knowing more. But I think one of the things about Spain is that it's got that wonderful overlap because it was so close to North Africa, and the Muslims came up from North Africa, and obviously not too far from Italy. So the Romans were able to come in and take over, and also the Christians then basically came in and took over everything through Europe there for a fair period of time. So nothing to do with anyone who was in charge or otherwise, but just that historical overlap was really interesting. So Granada with the Alhambra. And I can't think of the name of it, but Malaga. It was a beautiful coastal place. Malaga about 10 years ago was absolutely a dive, apparently, and there's a new, I think it was the mayor of the town, the region, took over and said, we need to do something about this. And in the space of 4 or 5 years, invested a huge amount of money to just ramp the place up, make it really attractive. The waterfront's great. It's got shaded areas where the sun just beats the shit out of you. Like shade, lovely, artistically creative shade areas and things. And now it's one of the most popular spots for the Poms, like the English, the holiday there constantly. So it's a really nice place to be.
So it was 9.5 weeks too much, not enough, just right?
I said as we were on our way back to Esther that it was lovely, and there was not one bit of the holiday I was disappointed in, nor would you take a bit of it out and say, oh, we wouldn't have done that. But I think 4 to 5 is probably enough. I'd rather do a couple of 4-week holidays rather than spreading it out in one time over 9 weeks, because you do run out of energy a little bit. And
you're getting on a bit, So.
Spot on.
Yeah.
But it was pretty stressful. It was really, really great.
It's funny when you think about, we're talking at the beginning about how the business has got to the point where it's not dependent on an individual, but also thinking about you from almost like a client perspective, and how, what we'd encourage our clients to do. We talk about financial planning, and not really being about financial planning, is about lifestyle planning and the window of time, the time, money and health. When you've got those three together, you've got the trifecta, and it's when you should, no matter what you're doing, whether you're a small business owner, whether you're still an employee, whether you've retired and you've got time on your hand, if you've got time, money and health,
critical. You've
got to go and do these things. And I know you, like I, love hearing our clients tell us stories about where they've been. I get excited listening to all of the stories and travels of clients travelling domestically around Australia, or I think you'd head off to the Northern Territory for the first time. Oh, no, not for the first time, but recently with Esther.
First time to Uluru.
Uluru, yeah.
Uluru Katajato and Kings Canyon. I was on the bucket list. It was a thing to do. And again, with that, our clients, we constantly tell them, like, if you've got an idea and you want to do it, make time, fit it in, because you just don't know. And as we well know, like, tomorrow is certainly not promised, and you can find very quickly what you wanted to do, you can't do. You either lose your capability, or you lose your partner, or you lose your life. You can't do things, lose your life. So make time, fit it in, and try and do. And we all have different aspirations and things that make us smile, things on our bucket list. Doesn't matter what it is, but make time. Like I just chatting to my sister, one of my sisters, she and her husband have not long retired. They had 7 weeks in the caravan, went to places they'd never been to before. And, she was just saying how lovely it was because they can do that now. They've got time, they've got their health still, and they've got the reasonable financial resources to do it.
It's interesting talking about financial planning and how there is probably still that misconception that financial advisors around investment management only and that we really aren't focused on the individual, when it couldn't be further from the truth. Like the interconnectedness between people creating wealth so that they can actually do the things that they want to do in their life. Like you said, whether it be a hobby, whether it's learn guitar, whether it's travel, it doesn't matter. But that's when people come to speak to us, we want them to do that. We want them to grow their wealth so that they can have a life that they desire.
Well, one of my very good life mates, Peter McGee, the Goose, he many years ago said, money doesn't matter. He said, money's not important. It's what the freedom and the choices that money allows you to make. Like having the money itself is irrelevant if it doesn't give you the opportunity to make choices and have the freedom to make decisions about what you want to do in your life. And that's the critical thing. And if you look, and I say this to our clients all the time when we're sitting in meetings, have a look at the screen. You can see all those numbers up there, your self-managed super fund or your North Pension or your North Super is looking pretty good. The numbers have grown. Wow, that income's great. That growth is great. But what point is that if you don't then use it to make your life or fill your life with stuff that's going to put a smile on your face? It's pointless exercise having it if you don't use it to do good things for yourself.
It's a beautiful way to put a bow on this conversation, PB. We're getting the hurry up from the boss. Amy, PB, thanks for the update on your travels and also on the business in the last couple of months. So thanks again. See you in the next episode.
Very lucky. Thanks, guys.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you're keen to understand more about how financial advice could benefit you, follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Burke Britton FP, or Google Burke Britton Financial Partners. Check out our client reviews, testimonials, and make a time to meet one of our certified financial planners by clicking Book Now on our website. Thanks for listening.
Any information contained in this podcast is of a general nature only. No account was taken as to the objectives, financial situation, or needs of any particular person. Therefore, before making any decision, listeners should consider the appropriateness of any information with regard to their particular objective, financial situation, needs, and seek independent advice from a licensed professional specific to their circumstances.
All right, hit it.
That translates to don't be a moron and act on what some random person says on a podcast. Take personal responsibility. Do your homework. Ask questions and speak to an actual human that knows what they're talking about before you do anything. PB Financial Solutions Proprietary Limited, trading as Burke Britton Financial Partners, are authorised representatives of AMP Financial Planning Limited, AFS, licence number 232706.